Welcome to Koffee Talks, a Pokemon card collecting podcast, featuring David Person, owner of the world's most complete English Pokemon card collection, and Dan Norton, a longtime collector with all the knowledge behind the cards.
Dan, is this day 3?
It is. It's day 3. I just got back from a card show. Just visiting this one, not vending it. But we're here again. We're recording.
Did you find anything exciting, Dan? Did you get anything? Am I going to be so excited to find a couple of cards you picked up for the English collection?
Yeah, I did. I actually got us a couple more of the, Pixel versus Smooth Cosmos foils. There's a couple more of those I found. I picked you up a prize pack Radiant Greninja, which is from Series 3. It's not the top of Series 3. That's still the Radiant Charizard, but I think the Radiant Greninja is a close second on, most expensive cards from Series 3. So that's nice. It's a nice one to get off your list for putting those prize packs together.
Okay, cool. Well, I appreciate you doing that, and I hope you had a good time at the card show. My issue today, Dan, is I've only got 7,663 days to live. So why wait any longer? Let's dive in, okay?
All right.
Okay, thanks for bearing with me, Dan. Dan, after yesterday's video, a bunch of people reached out and they said, can we help you with the whole marriage situation? And so I just want to thank everybody for their thoughts and well wishes. But, what happens is, you imagine all the money that I spend on Pokemon. Think about the Prismatic Evolution. It's going to be the most expensive set I've ever paid for in the history of my time in Pokemon. And so, I do have discussions with the wife, and she says, you've gone overboard. And then she'll say something to me like, do you love Pokemon more than me? And I try to keep a straight face, guys, but the honest reaction is she knows me too well. And so I can't answer that question in a way that's going to be beneficial to me in any way, shape, or form, which is why I often find myself in a different, better bedroom. Dan, let me tell you two things I saw that I thought were funny recently. And again, it's just something that came up. So number one was someone had ordered a book off the internet called, How to Scam People. And after 3 months, they still hadn't received the book. And then the other thing, Dan, is I saw somebody selling a Blooming Waters empty box, just the box and just dividers. And somebody commented and said, we should set up a GoFundMe for them to actually refill the contents of the box. So I thought those things are kind of funny. Some things on Facebook do make me chuckle every once in a while. Although my sense of humor and Dan's are very different. Because Dan is he's a young UK guy, and I'm an old, English guy, English in the sense of USA. Dan, I want to thank everybody for sure, all of you watching, for your comments, and every little bit helps, makes a huge difference. We appreciate you watching and commenting on the videos. I had a really interesting comment on it that I wanted to focus on. It talked about the definition of a scalper being with intent. So the idea is, that's how you can really define a scalper, somebody that has a great intent to go and buy everything and immediately flip it, do nothing else than flip it, move it around, etc. Hi, Kat. Thanks for coming in. Nice, right in the middle of the podcast. And so the only thing is, I thought that was a great definition, but the only thing that didn't account for was, okay, what about me? So I don't have the intent to flip it tomorrow, but in sense, I take some product off the market and put it away in a storage vault somewhere. Aren't I a part of the same problem in the sense that in immediacy of the release of the product is going up in value more, faster than it should, because there is some particular amount of product that's off the market and not there immediately for people to buy. So Dan, your thoughts on that as far as, I don't know how to avoid being a part of that problem.
Well, so on that front, I think that's kind of what we talked about, where it's... Sorry, I'm distracted by the cat now. It's people buying stuff that they don't want, basically, that's what people are saying about the flippers and stuff. But what you're doing when you're buying it for this longer term, that's where people tend to view it as an investment rather than flipping. Part of the reason of that is, if you don't buy these boxes and put them away, if a lot of people don't buy these boxes now and put them away, say, Journey Together, if no one puts away Journey Together boxes now and puts them in the closet for 5 years, in 5 years, maybe there are no sealed boxes to buy. Like, maybe there are none left sealed. Maybe they've all been opened. The people who are holding these for a longer period of time are allowing people who are getting into the hobby in 5 years' time to have access to this sealed product that they maybe wouldn't have had access to. We look at all of the boxes you've got, like some of the EX era boxes are into the tens of thousands for a sealed box now because so few people saved them, so few boxes stayed sealed. So by doing this investing, by holding on to stuff, it is actually allowing a positive thing to happen for someone else in the future. Whereas the immediate flipping, it's literally you've just gone, it's basically, I want this product here. And it's just like, if I'm passing something from my left hand to my right hand, you've jumped in the middle and said, no, give me $20 to do this. The product was always there for this person to buy. The flippers, the immediate resellers, are just getting in the middle of that process. So I think the people who are viewing it, I think they view that differently. And I think that's why they don't hate on the longer term investors as much as they hate on these flippers and resellers, is because that is allowing a positive thing to happen for a new collector in future who might want to go back and get these boxes from 5-10 years ago. Like, for example, if someone's getting into it now and they want early Sword and Shield boxes, they're going to have to find someone who was an investor 5-10 years ago, however long ago Sword and Shield was, five years ago maybe, and who did put these boxes away long term.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that perspective, and I don't think it's a perspective I was necessarily thinking about. But of course, that's the reason you're my podcast partner, because you bring all the brilliance, and I just bring a lot of verbal nothingness. But that does make some sense and makes me feel a little bit better. And speaking of feeling better, one thing that I think about is I watch a lot of these other content creators and just to see what they're saying, and I try to find the humor in a lot of it. So I hope you guys do too. I know there's so much negativity, and one of my favorite programs over the course of my lifetime, because my wife forced me to watch it, is Dateline NBC. And because it's drama and stuff, right? And so you love the drama. We all love the drama. We all love that. That's why these folks have all the views that they do. But it's funny to see them exaggerate. You'll see two people waiting in front of a vending machine and the content creator saying, can you believe this? This is unbelievable. There is this huge line of people waiting in front of the vending machine right now. They've camped out. They're sitting with a phone and stuff. So guys, I don't know if you know, we're going to talk a couple things about apps in this podcast. But number one, there's a new app that you can use to hire people to wait in line for you for whatever it is you want to wait in line for. And of course, I've been doing that since I was, 25 years old when we bought our first house and had to wait in line at a construction site. We basically bought a trailer and a tent because that's how you had to buy it back then. It was a whole different deal. So waiting in line is a good thing, but find the humor in this stuff, even when it makes you feel bad, because hopefully it settles down those emotions and those frustrations that we're not able to participate about. And continuing the discussion about frustrations and where's this all coming from, there was an interesting Facebook post from someone, I'm not going to name names or anything, who is a store owner in Wisconsin. He's a large buyer and seller, and he said, I want to tell the community something. He said, I don't think it's a printing issue. He said, in fact, my distributor allocated me one blister pack of Journey Together. He said, not one case of blister packs. So this is a big seller. One blister pack in singular. And he said, let me read you the quote at the end. It said, truth be told, this is not a Pokemon printing problem. This is a distributor problem, either backdoor product or something. So I think that thought that's interesting, since we're not exactly sure what it is. But I know, Dan, you had some thoughts that you wanted to plug in from didn't get a chance to talk about, because I'm always doing all the talking. You need to shut up more. From the last video. Don't say yes and just agree with me that freely. Just hold back a little bit. Okay. And then Dan, so talk and tell me what you didn't get a chance to say the last video for sure.
So it actually wasn't something I didn't get a chance to say. I forgot that it was a point I should have made when we were talking about, TBCI not printing enough to meet demand. So the sets that are hugely in demand at the moment, there's 3 sets that are super in demand. It's 151, it's Surging Sparks, it's Prismatic Evolutions, right? Prismatic Evolutions and Surging Sparks are very, very recent sets. They've come out within the last few months. 151, of course, came out September 2023, I think it first dropped. But these Blooming Waters things at Costco, we're seeing people fight over those. First of all, let's look at Blooming Waters real quick. That product, the only exclusive thing to it is that Jumbo Blastoise. Those 4 cards in the front that they say are promos are not promos. those are 4 cards that are exactly the same as the cards you can pull from booster packs. And there's about 5 people in the world who really care about jumbos, and you're one of them. So the reason people are fighting for these Blooming Waters is because of the booster packs of 151, right? But I pulled up TCG Players listing for the ETB. As we talked about, ETBs are one of the biggest products. So they have a price charting that goes back a year. So if we look at March to April of last year, remember this is 6 months after the product came out, this product is still selling for retail on TCG Player. I believe when it first came out, it was higher than retail, but you can see it here through May into June, all the way through to August. It gets to the last week of August, first week of September of last year, which is a year after the product was released, before it even hit $75, which is 1.5 times MSRP. What people forget is there was a solid 6-month period where you could walk into any Target or any Walmart and you could buy as much 151 as you wanted. The ETBs were there on the shelves, the binder collections were there, the poster collections were there. If you wanted it, you could absolutely get it for MSRP. There wasn't this crazy fight over it. It was printed to demand. There was enough out there to meet the demand. And then if we look as the prices start slightly going up, it takes us into the start to mid-December before there are no sales in the week under $100. And then from December to now, we're up to $200. So when people are talking about Pokemon not printing to demand, this level of demand for 151 specifically, this level of demand has only been around for 3 months. This isn't an ongoing thing. I've talked about how there are dips and there are raises in the demand. If you look at the set before Surging Sparks, Stellar Crown, when Stellar Crown came out, you could buy as much of it as you wanted. It was not in any way limited the way that Surging Sparks is. But then, as Surging Sparks got a huge boost of popularity, which one is because of the Pikachu in the set, I'll granted that. Another is because it was Christmas time. You know, toys go up in demand at Christmas. That's not a Pokemon thing. That's just a thing. And then, you know, Surging Sparks sells out, so everyone goes, oh, what else is there? And they start grabbing at the older sets, and then everything else starts selling out. And then that's when the flippers come back in and they say, oh, Pokemon's selling out again. Last time Pokemon was selling out, I could make money off it. We're back into it here. So if you're looking at TPCI and saying, because of these fights with the Blooming Waters collection, oh, Pokemon's not printing to demand, you have to remember that Pokemon has only had basically 3 months' notice that the demand is at the level that it is now. 3 months is not enough time to fully reprint a set. It's just not. Especially with the fact that there were definitely already reprints going of older sets, which we know because distributors have confirmed, and local stores I've spoken to have confirmed they've been able to order from distributors. Paldea Evolved, Obsidian Flames, Paradox Rift, those sets were already in production. They can't just press the big red button and stop production to go and print more 151. They wait till that ends, then they go and print more. Right now, I assume they're going to be printing Surging Sparks and Prismatic Evolutions, probably over 151 because 151 is an older set. But people just have to understand they can't expect TPCI to do an immediate turnaround. They can't go, oh, this product is now so hot, it's 8 times retail, when last week it was only 2 times retail. They need it back on the shelves now. They need to print more now. They just can't do that. No company can react to the market that quick when it's a product they have to produce.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, it makes total sense. I guess you could get ahead of it if you were to buy the additional printing facilities and things like that. It depends on how costly that
Well,
is and how.
you could, but as I said, 6 months ago, there was nothing to indicate to them that they needed to print more of that because 151 had been out for 6 to 9 months and was still on shelves. It was sitting on shelves. It wasn't selling out. it would be crazy of them to have started, like, even if they had unlimited printing facilities, from a business standpoint, it would have been crazy for them to start a print run then when there was plenty of this product sitting on the shelves.
Yeah, I didn't mean that, Dan, by the way. I didn't mean that they would have
Okay.
known. I just mean going forward in anticipation if they believe the demand was going to continue to be this high. Obviously, it's just one of many solutions they could undertake.
Right. Yeah.
Let me dovetail in just one last topic about what we had talked about the last couple of days. So I talked about this concept of creating the Department of Pokemon Efficiency. We're calling it DOPE, and so within the Department of Dope, uh, I do think that Dan, you had a diatribe yesterday about, hey, they're making too much money and they don't really need to worry about all this and everything is selling out. But do you think there's any validity at all, Dan, to this concept of working on the eliminating the bots? In other words, would the hobby take better to the fact that if through Pokemon Center, if there were releases and that kind of thing, that there actually was a kind of lottery system put in place where they take all the entries in, and so you don't have, hopefully they can identify that it's not just bots getting in front of people. I suppose they could still have bots that put in 1,000 entries that are fake, but at least they're not in line and can't just barge through to get into to where people can't buy anything. Is there some rationale behind trying to make that a thing that we're focused on or talking about?
I mean, I think it would be good if they did it. I just don't think there's any realistic chance of them spending the additional money that's needed or hiring the additional staff that's needed to run that kind of system. Like, I would love it if they did. I would love it if you just got to, like, sign up, like when stuff goes up for pre-order on the Pokemon Center, if instead of going in and clicking pre-order and buying it, if you instead went in and went, okay, I'm registering my interest for 2 of these, and then they went through everyone who's done the interest and gone, okay, make sure there's no duplicates, make sure you're not buying it. I mean, it would probably hit me and Law because maybe they'd look at addresses and go, okay, well, they're both living at the same address. They can have two between them. They can't have two each, Maybe it does that. Like, that would still be better than, the bots getting a lot of them. I just don't think it's something that they would do. Like, I'd like it if they did. I just don't think they ever would.
Okay. Well, hopefully we won't give up, guys. Again, my message yesterday was we got to do something about it, or else it's not. Other than just complaining, I don't know where it gets us. But I just continue to believe that they, within that confines of that company, they're doing some things like that, and they just need to figure out how to share the data and the details on that a little bit better.
I mean,
Uh,
just wait it out. This same thing happened last year. Like, when I said 151 was at a peak when it came out and then dropped to being everywhere, it'll probably happen again. Prismatic's hot at the moment. Everyone's talking about it, but once Journey is on shelves, Journey seems like it's, especially for local game stores, Journey is pretty well allocated compared to Surging Sparks. Once there's enough of that on the shelves, once there's enough Surging Sparks back on the shelves, the flippers are going to lose interest because they can't easily turn stuff over. By summer, maybe there's a lot of Prismatic everywhere that we can get, and then we have 5 nice months before next Christmas it goes mad again.
Yeah, I mean, and I know when you say wait it out, I'm always concerned when people say that because I think it's really a very difficult opinion. It bodes for the
It
ultimate
is.
prediction, and you don't know, but I really mean that you can wait it out, but it's never going to be as cheap as it would have been on the Pokemon Center website. I'm talking about things
Right.
like the PC ETBs and stuff. So from
Yeah, yeah,
that
sure.
standpoint,
I understand that, yeah.
more of a chance would be better. Dan, you
Yeah.
mentioned Journey Together. I do want to just talk about that very quickly. There's obviously this issue, controversy, situation, new thing, new wrench in the fire, whatever, from years ago, this box topper. So these boxes are called
Yeah.
enhanced, ones that have the box topper inside, and ones that aren't enhanced. And the box toppers are all the same in all of the boxes. And to our knowledge, and you'll correct me, most of the boxes that have gone out to the distributors, if not all of them, generally speaking, all are called enhanced and have a box topper inside of them at this point in time. Now, we also know that the pre release kits, we believe, do not have those box toppers inside. For
No,
those
they
that may not
didn't.
be familiar, okay, pre release kits generally are something like a booster box inside, along with maybe 10. What do they call those bundles? 10 battle. What do
It's
they call?
10 build and battle kits and a booster box is what's
Okay,
in a pre-release kit.
and those boxes don't have that in box topper. And so there was a
Correct.
YouTube.
There's no box topper in there.
Okay. And there was a
Yeah.
content creator that had a take on this yesterday that said, maybe in the ultimate longer term, those non-enhanced boxes, which are currently selling for less because people are trying to enhance the value of the enhancement in the box by articulating that, oh, this is so special. Those aren't the ones that are more limited in print. The pre-release kit type of ones that are not enhanced are at the moment more limited in print. And so his suggestion was that they may be worth more in the long run than even the ones with the box topper. If the box topper eventually, decreases in value to $5 or $10 a card, like it probably would or should, especially when this supply gets out there.
Yeah.
When you think about how that would manifest, it would have to manifest in the idea of collectors putting away sealed boxes that are different, right? So for my collection, I collect one of every single box that is different than any other box. The contents are different, and technically a box topper inside is different from one that's not a box topper inside. So I would want to go out and buy one of those unenhanced boxes along with an enhanced box as well. And so if there are people that would want to do that, I don't know that there's that many in that particular instance I've described. And those boxes became more limited, then there is a chance that that content creator's assertion might be correct. But Dan, you're thinking, and you've told me that you think that maybe from an overseas perspective, they may get different boxes than the ones with the enhancement in it.
Yes. So what the initial announcement said, the initial announcements were slightly ambiguous, but it seems like every local game store in the United States will be getting enhanced booster boxes. It also mentioned that non-game stores would be getting the regular ones in the US, which it seemed to imply it was like Target and Walmart would get the regular ones, but Target and Walmart don't sell booster boxes, they sell packs. Usually even the like cardboard sleeved packs, they don't actually have loose packs. But it also said that overseas, so Europe and potentially Canada, the English language boxes would be not enhanced, or there'd be a much lower number of enhanced ones. So the long-term viability of the value of the non-enhanced version is going to heavily depend on to what level outside the US they get enhanced versus non-enhanced. That's going to be one of the big points we need to look at when they actually start showing up at LGSs and LGSs start talking about it. The other thing will be if enhanced is a first print run only thing. Because even with the print run being huge, Journey Together is going to have a couple of print runs over the next 2 years to keep it in standard. If they decide that, the first print run, there were so many enhanced boxes, maybe they want to keep that special for the first print run, and then when they're reprinting them, maybe they think people don't need or don't care about the box topper anymore, and they then decide in future print runs, we're not going to bother doing the enhanced boxes, we'll only do the regular boxes, including for the US, then obviously that changes things. So it is entirely possible that the non-enhanced version actually ends up being a much, much rarer box. But with this being the first set where they've done this, there's a few questions we're going to have to see answered before we can really know that. I don't know for definite if they're going to keep doing the enhanced thing going forward. They haven't announced that one way or the other yet, but hopefully at least soon we'll have an answer to the first question as to countries outside the US, what level or what split they have of enhanced versus non-enhanced, and then the reprint thing we'll know about in a year's time or something.
Okay, I don't know why they would send something different overseas in the sense that again, you're trying to be fair with everybody. You'd think they'd want them to feel like they
Yeah.
were getting everything that was coming here. But do you agree with me that ultimately that promo card that's inside the boxes should only be a very small dollar card, $5, $10, something like that?
Yes, if every single LGS in the US is getting only enhanced boxes, there's going to be so many of them out there. It's going to So basically the promo is an illustration rare from the set with the set logo on it, but because it's in every box, it's not only more common than every illustration rare out there, it's more common than every EX out there because you don't get one of every EX in a box. It's more common than any specific reverse holo out there because if you open one box, you don't get a full set of reverse holos. You get maybe a third or a quarter of the set, maybe a third to a half now with them being 2 reverses in each pack. But this box topper will technically be more common than any random reverse holo. Obviously, it's more desirable to most people than a random reverse holo, but the rarity of it just isn't there. It's going to be very, very widespread.
Okay. And Dan, I'm going to go, I guess we're going to go a little longer today because I can't seem to ever keep my word on being shorter, but I really want to have your input on this. And you've decided to do the most of the talking in this video. So thanks for doing the heavy lifting. Dan, compare the box topper card that we're talking about to the EV card inside the Prismatic Evolutions, not the Pokemon Center, just the basic EV card in the Prismatic Evolutions ETB. Because that card in general is there's still people looking to buy hundreds and thousands of that card. I'm not sure what they do with it, but for 10, 12, $15 a card. And I know those ETB boxes are higher, which adds to the potential value of that card as well, or the price it would be. But what is your thoughts on that card versus the one we're just talking about?
Well, so anything from an ETB, even an ETB of a regular set, not an ETB of a special set, the numbers printed on that are astronomically low compared to booster boxes. Booster boxes and booster packs are the staple product of Pokemon. You know, for main series sets, there's always booster boxes. The amount of booster boxes a store can get over the lifetime of a set compared to how many ETBs they can get, it's worlds apart. After the first run of ETBs, you're lucky if you can then end up getting a brick of 10 every so often. When a set's in good supply, obviously, like we've said, Surging Spark stuff at the moment isn't, but when a set is in good supply, you can be ordering cases and cases and cases of it whenever you need to. So I think the EV is going to be a lot rarer than this still because ETBs are just printed at a much lower rate than booster boxes, and obviously the EV is from a special set, so I think the prismatic ETBs potentially are printed less than the main series set ETBs. I don't fully have the numbers on that because I don't have as close contact with distributors or anything anymore because I no longer work at a game store. But yeah, I think this is going to be way more common than the EV promo.
Okay. All right. Good input.
And
Dan,
also, when you ask what people are doing when they're buying 100 EV promos, is they're grading them, and if they're hoping that they get 5 10s, and then selling those 5 for the price that they paid for all 100, and then they're selling the 9s to get their money back on the other 90
yeah, no,
or 95.
that makes sense for sure. Dan, I just realized I don't like to look that closely into your eyes because it's almost like you're mesmerizing and you're hypnotizing and a few other words that end in ing. But Dan, I've noticed now that you're not sitting in the same place as the first two videos. Have you been banished under the house again?
I've moved down to the basement so we can see if it's if it was my environment that was causing the issues with recording or yours, and it has seemed to have gone a little bit smoother for us today. But yeah, I'm down in the basement now. Luckily, the basement has been where I've been doing a lot of my editing and sorting work lately because we had my parents over for Thanksgiving, which meant that they had to stay in the basement because what I'm sitting on now is a sofa bed, so they were down here. I will say to people, it is a finished basement, and two, this is a split level, so this isn't fully underground. It does have windows and stuff at the top, but it meant we had to fully clean out the basement, which then meant I had a full room that was basically empty. And since the card room was getting full to the point where sorting stuff was move one thing slightly to get another thing out, I just set up a table in here and I'm bringing stuff down bit by bit, sorting it and taking it back up. So yeah, I'm in the basement for a while.
All right, nice job, Dan. I purposely try to get home with a smaller amount of rooms because I know if I have extra rooms, I'll just fill them with Pokemon cards. No guests, just Pokemon cards. No relationship
Or
with the wife, just
children.
cards. Exactly. Yeah, same thing. Thanks, Dan. Dan, I'm going to move on to something else because we did exceed our length of the first two videos now. So I feel like I've trashed my reputation for neutrality and for accuracy. Neither one of which I'm working on, but I did see something in the news this week, and I just want to comment from people that are watching. So here's what it said. it said DoorDash is now going to offer, you guys know DoorDash, it's like Uber Eats, that kind of stuff. They're going to offer buy now, pay later programs for people using their service. Now, for those of you that are aware of that, that's typically a buy now, pay later, BNPL programs are used for things like furniture and, almost like the old layaway programs. And they're used for bigger items. For a smaller company, smaller transaction size company to do something like this, it's indicative of them worrying that we're going to go into recession in this country. And whether or not we go into recession based on what's going on politically, or we go into economic stagnation, or in this case, stagflation, we're moving in that direction rapidly. Okay. And of course, as a financial advisor, I might know a little bit about this, but then again, I might know nothing. Who knows? So, my question for those of you that are listening is, if we are moving into a more rough period where consumer sentiment is beginning to waver significantly about their confidence in the economy, your confidence in maintaining a job, et cetera, at what point do you guys make a decision to say, we are no longer spending on Pokemon? We can deal, this is kind of an addiction, but it's not because of this. We don't have that money, and how do you cut back? Is it you cut off completely? Do you cut off halfway? I'd just like to hear if any of you are worried about any of that as you see what's taking shape in the stock markets, in the government, layoffs, et cetera, and let us know, because I think that also is interesting from an input standpoint of, precursor of what might come as far as the demand side of Pokemon as new sets are issued going forward, especially with 30th anniversary and other things coming up. That was just a general question I had. Dan, any comments on that at all?
Well, I don't have a real job anyway, so that's where I'm at. We'll see what people say, and maybe we can talk a bit about that tomorrow. Give me a bit of time to get my thoughts in order.
Okay, fine. And you know what? I'm trying to get you a real job. I'm trying to get you. We're trying to work on getting you. You deserve all the followers in the world. You're legitimate. You're straight up. You're accurate. You're unbiased. Your hair's not pink anymore. And so it's
And
time.
no one wants that. No
Okay.
one wants to listen to unbiased facts. They want to listen to drama. They want to hear about how the sky's falling in and about how the next set is going to be worth $10 billion a box in a year's time, and you have to get in now, and FOMO and all that.
I know you're 100% right, but we're going to buck the trend and we're going to keep doing it. We're going to do it our way, and it's
Yeah.
going to work out just fine. I have all the confidence in the world in you, or I don't, but I'm going to try to. So great discussion, Dan. I really appreciate everything. The back and forth, I hope, is something that allows for provoking thoughts for everybody out there, and I hope that you guys will interact with us. And we'd love to hear what you're thinking. It's important. Again, I'm trying to avail myself of more content so that this can be a place where you're getting a little bit more of what the community is thinking out there, but you're also getting more of what we're doing. I know things have been a bit more controversial lately, and so people love drama. So we'll stay on that as long as it's there, but we'll begin to talk more and more about kind of what our daily activities look like in trying to build these sets and all of the master set variants and stuff that Dan kind of alluded to when he talked about going to the show today, going forward. So I appreciate you guys indulging us and went a little bit longer today, but thank you very much for your attention and your kindness and your support.
Got actually a nice little pile of stuff from the show.
Wow.
Maybe we'll talk about those. Maybe I'll show those off later. But we've got actually quite a big chunk. But it's some for you, some for me, some for Law.
Okay. And we can always take Laura's and not give them to her and just sell them off, and sort of like the 10s to pay for the 9s on the PSA grading.
Generally, if I see one at a show that's not quite at the condition I want, I ask Laura if it's okay for her set, and then if it is, I get to go and take the good one out of Law's set and then put the slightly worse one into Law's set. So I kind of do that already.
Hashtag things that make Pokemon marriages work. Love it. Good job, Dan.
Yeah. All right, are we ending?
Right,
is that it?
People have to go and eat dinner or find
yes.
it. Actually, breakfast time. It's breakfast time. They got to go get their coffee, break, take, make, hate, whatever.
Yeah, that's the name of this, is Coffee, Make, Break, Take, whatever. Yes, I'll change the title to that. I think we'll stick with Minisode for one more episode until we figure something out. All right, but yeah, it's gone long. So thanks for watching. Thanks for letting me hit 4,000 subscribers, by the way. That's kind of crazy. I basically jumped over 3,000. I'll add this at the end since we've got along anyway. I've been experimenting with promoting some of my videos on YouTube, and I don't think I said this on camera already, but I was expecting to hit 3K subs in the next, in a couple of weeks from now, with how my rate was going. but then I checked yesterday and I was already over 4,000 because I'd gained like 1,500 in the last week, which was crazy and just unexpected. So thank you all for that. So that's that. All right, we're going. We're definitely going. Say goodbye again, Dave.
Okay, good job, Dan. Take care. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Koffee Talks with Dan Norton and David Person, with music by More Than Never and artwork by Lore Norton. A special thanks to all of our Patreon members. Join us again next time.
But they don't want you to have a